I'm Andrew Moran, Liberty Nation's economics editor.
Very, very rocky.
Death by government.
Drain the swamp.
Hello and welcome to another installment of Liberty Nation's Swamponomics videocast. I'm Andrew Moran, Liberty Nation's economics editor. This week, the US economy grew 4.9% in the third quarter, and all it took was a $1.7 trillion budget deficit to achieve this. The economy has been humming along so well that economists and market analysts are either calling off a recession or trimming their odds of a downturn. Can anyone blame them? A tight labor market, an expansionary economy, slowing inflation, and consumers who love to spend. But the chief problem is that much of the current economic gains are being fueled by the Leviathan. Let's take a look at the gangbusters third quarter GDP. Again, a 4.9% clip, but most of this was fueled by debt. The consumer contributed nearly half of the final print, thanks to all of the credit card debt, home equity lines of credit, and buy now, pay later schemes. The government accounted for about 1% of the headline number, thanks to eye-popping levels of spending from all three levels of government, in addition to national defense spending. Put simply, this cannot be considered real growth or even sustainable growth, since much of the GDP is now being fueled by government outlays and consumers tapping, swiping, and inserting. Despite a summer slowdown in employment growth, 2023 has been rock solid for the US labor market. However, about 1/4 of all employment gains this year have been driven by growth in government payrolls. In addition, if you factor in healthcare and social assistance, which are also government related, more than a third of job gains in 2023 come from the state. Wages remain strong. According to the latest PCE data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, government workers' wages surged to 7.8% year over year in September, just shy of the record high of 8.7% in October 2021. By comparison, private workers' salaries eased to below 4%. In a recent Federal Reserve report called the Survey of Consumer Finances, or SCF, households reported a net worth surge of 37%. This drove much of the headlines, of course. But underneath the hood show that pandemic-era government stimulus checks, stock gains, and housing appreciation fueled nearly all of these gains. Of course, you can thank the Federal Reserve for the gains in stock and housing prices. This is all in addition to the corporate welfare that Bidenomics is showering the private sector with in the name of clean energy. The Inflation Reduction Act, the US Chips and Science Act, and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law are giving US and foreign companies, yes, including China, trillions of dollars in taxpayer money. In other words, all the factory activity and new jobs the nation has witnessed over the past year are financed by taxpayer dollars, borrowed dollars, and inflated dollars. Overall, federal net outlays as a percentage of gross domestic product are about 25%, up from below 20% before the public health crisis. Moreover, prior to COVID, a Bloomberg study showed that the US economy would crash if borrowing were outlawed. US per capita income would crater to negative $5,000. It is understandable why. Unfortunately, the real victim would be the US government, the largest borrower in America today, flooding $1.8 trillion in treasuries in the second half of 2023. Indeed, in an environment of high interest rates, the real victim is always the debt-laden US government. Now, we knew that the government grew exponentially during the coronavirus pandemic, but under Biden it has quietly expanded to unseen heights, thanks to a silent mainstream media that has failed to report the data to the public. Or is it that the media just want the government to grow as part of the Keynesian fascination with state intervention? The White House has stated that it wants to renew its partnership with the private sector after dismantling this relationship over the last 30 years. So maybe the press is salivating over a piece of the corporate welfare pie too. The mainstream media can say that Taylor Swift concert tickets and the Barbenheimer movie event of this past summer supported economic growth, but the government is God lesson of Bidenomics 101 is the actual culprit. Yes, Bidenomics is juicing the GDP. When you're running a $2 trillion federal deficit and a $33.5 trillion national debt while increasing the size and scope of the state, the GDP better come in hot. That's it for me this week. Please read my full Swamponomics column on the pages of LibertyNation.com, and be sure to check out my previous Swamponomics TV interviews. Thank you. I'm Andrew Moran, Liberty Nation's economics editor.
Very, very rocky.
Death by government.
Drain the swamp.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at LibertyNation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are LibertyNation.com.